Hello, hello.
Music's over. I got to stop dancing now.
It's quite that kind of music. Like,
Good morning, Simon.
Yes, good afternoon.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
I might
coming to you from all around the globe. That's how we are.
Hang on. Trouble with earbuds.
Oh, no. So while Simon's fixing that, welcome everybody to the show. It's our weekly show. We call it Humpday Q&A. We sometimes have guests. We actually have some guests lined up today. I'll let Simon tell you about those as soon as he can hear.
There we go.
Can you hear now? Can you?
Yes.
Can you hear us now?
All
right. Good. All right. Let's introduce ourselves, I guess.
Yeah. Let's do the whole thing. Welcome to Humpday Q&A.
There we go.
My name's Simon Lightfoot. I'm a Flutter community leader and CTO at DevAngels London, and you can follow me on Twitter at DevAngels London. Randall.
And I'm Randall Schwartz. I'm a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert. I'm also watching the live chat that we have. We get tons of questions from the live chat. We really appreciate that. But we could always use more questions. So if you have a friend who isn't watching right now, be sure to tell them right now, because it's much better when you can ask a question live than just watching the playback stream. So trust me, I do both.
And don't forget, enter your questions in the live chat with a Q in front of them, so we can find them. And no, you're not talking between yourselves. So
yeah.
And Scott won't be joining us today, but we'll have some other guests as we go through. So, so first of all, let's quickly get going. The do's and don'ts: be nice, respectful, constructive whilst interacting in the YouTube chat. Don't post anything adult, rude, or offensive. The usual things. Don't be an idiot, and don't advertise or promote anything. Don't spam or post the same question again and again. Yes, we understand. If you've got to change your question, post it. We understand. But as we said before, always, your question goes to the bottom of the queue. Then, so make sure you're committed to your question before you press that enter button. Otherwise, we might not get to it in time. And then harassment completely is not tolerated, and you'll be banned from here and everywhere else. You've been warned. There. Let's go to the good stuff.
Yep.
Let's get back to us.
Yeah. Us.
And I think we're going to bring on the first guest to start the stream with us. That's Salih.
Hello. How is everyone doing?
Not too bad.
Hi.
I'm really excited for this week. I hope that we can answer some nice questions,
It's last week. You say how it is. It's good now, but last week. So it's like setting up the Droidcon conference on the Wednesday.
Yeah.
Make sure everyone's here and everything's arranged. Then we had the Thursday. There's 1,400 attendees, 1,400 people, and it was just like on that first day, it was just talking nonstop for the entire day. There was like 4 or 5 of us there answering people's questions all day long. At the end of the day, I was like, no more. And then I'm like, there's a second day. Did
you have your talk in the first day or the second day?
First day in the afternoon after lunch.
Okay.
Honestly, by the time I had my talk, it felt like the entire day. And that was only 1 o'clock.
Okay.
It was ridiculous. And then we had the second day. Thank you again to all our speakers that came out and were able to travel and everything else. Salih couldn't make it. Stupid visas.
Stupid visas. I got my visa today for my talk on Friday. This is ridiculous.
Just a few days. Just a few days.
I did my best, but
there's always next time. And since we're starting Flutter London back up, you can come back and talk here if you like to.
Okay. Let's chat.
And
that's why I carry MasterCard instead of Visa, because Visa fails. Not just kidding.
Oh dear. We started already.
If they were sponsors, I'd be worried.
I need some more caffeine as well after this job.
Okay. Keep up with me. All right, good. All right.
And then,
I
couldn't give you a little bit more. Yeah, and then on the Saturday, a few of us went up to that was Martin Jarrett, myself, and Niels Richard went up to the National Museum of Computing History or whatever.
Yeah.
and yeah, they had a BBC Micro. This is very British a machine, but they had a BBC Micro on display, and you could actually program and use it. So so yeah, there's I'll post this. I'll show this on the screen here for a second. Let's see. Does this come up?
Wow.
So it's that kind of, I'll mute this. It's that kind of machine where you have to, type in the basic code. So this is like, just loops around and prints hello Flutter for ever. I don't know. But anyway, it's funny. Just leave that going for the entire but no, we had a good time.
Hacker man in business,
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things, right? It's not until I saw Nils, who's younger than me, that's never seen these machines, use them. I'm like, for me, it's obvious on how to use them because I've used them before, right?
Yeah.
Like, not just these machines, but this type of architecture. For someone else, it's like, there's just a prompt. Like, what do I do? It's like,
yeah. Isn't it from a movie from the 80s or something like that?
Oh, these are in all sorts of places.
Yeah.
And it's like, you look at some of these machines and it's like, what were we thinking at the time, right? Like, it's quite interesting when you see the computing history just over the last few decades, right? Like, it's changed so much. Anyway,
they have the best version of they have, so we can't blame them.
No, I know, right? But
yeah.
They had in the museum like mainframes, right? Like actual, we have like the disk loaders and like that are separate, the reel-to-reel magnetic tape machines, and these are like the hard drives, and then you've kind of got a big machine which is just the RAM, and then you've got like another 5 like fridge units which are the CPU bank, right? Running out like
in one of my early jobs, I had to pull in and out 5-level disk platters that were a 20 megabyte storage. And that was amazing to have 20 megabytes. Ooh.
I don't know if I took it. I'm gonna have to quickly look. They had a I don't know if I took a picture of it. That's a shame. They actually had a huge platter, and it was about a meter tall. It's like 1 meter.
Oh wow!
Massive metal platter. Ridiculous. Right. Talking about the old. What's happening with the new? So
yeah. By the way, I saw someone. By the way, I saw someone saying, "Amplify rocks." Damian Diaz. Yeah, it is. It rocks. Thank you, Damian.
Yep. I was off.
I'm sorry.
I was off by an order of magnitude. The RKO5 disk pack holds 2.5 megabytes. 2.5.
Wow. Whole 2.5
on a 5-platter system. Yes. And I used to play with those. Yes.
That is some advanced technology right there. That would put most people to shame. So
I think I have that much space left on my laptop disk, just barely. It's amazing how those fill up. Okay.
Yeah, what was I looking at the other day? I'm like, how is this install this software like 2 gigabytes or something ridiculous? I'm like, what is this? Like, I think there seems to be, I feel like I would say this, but there does seem to like not many developers care about like how much disk consumption, how much space consumption their software takes up, right? Yeah. Like it's like that whole, let's make it with Bionic or whatever and like ship the entire browser with our app. It's like, it just doesn't make, like, as much as that makes sense from the like speed of development, it doesn't make sense as a deployment mechanism. It just,
well,
I
remember working with Unix on a PDP 1170, where they had worked out how to do separate IND space so that the instructions and the data could both occupy parts of the 64K address range. 64K. Yeah, that's what Unix was developed on, machines of that era.
I mean, even when you're dealing with that stuff on some of the early micro machines that you would make games on, the ones that run BASIC, like you just saw, like,
right.
Yeah, I mean that they all run that kind of like 64K, like they're running 6502s, which has a 64K address space, and yeah, you had like a 4K kernel, right?
Yeah,
like the rest of it, and
yeah,
you'd be lucky if you had all the banks filled, and you'd only had like 16K usable or something. Like, yeah. It is a bit ridiculous now how we waste space and CPU time. Anyway,
and people slightly notice, this is Flutter related now, people slightly notice the payload for Flutter Web, the Skia converted to WASM. They do notice that, but not always.
Someone actually sent me, I don't remember who, sent me a message and said, like, I think it was one of our Flutter Dev Camp people, and they said they wanted to run Flutter Web without the Dart runtime. So they just wanted it to convert Dart code to the JavaScript equivalent.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but why would you want to? And then I actually thought, you know what? Like, how big is this thing? So I went and just did a Dart create web project and just compiled it to see how big the standard, the very, very slimmest mode that it can run. This is without Flutter. This is just Dart for web. Is 47 kilobytes. I mean,
wow.
that's the Dart runtime, and so yeah, I mean that's perfectly fine for me. I think that's fine.
Well, it's like I just found out in the last couple of weeks that SAS, the standard tool for turning SCCS CSS in sort of source form into live CSS, the standard compiler for that is Dart. Dart is the reference compiler. And not only that, they convert the Dart to JavaScript and publish that as an NPM. So it's like that code is Dart to JS that everybody gets to run SAS in their systems. And SAS is one of the most heavily used CSS transformation engines. So pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's,
we have some questions.
Keep your questions coming. We're just talking just to kind of buy the time to get your questions in. So make sure you get your questions in with a lovely queue in front of them, and then we'll get them in our list.
You should take the Droidcon question first. Droidcon.
Is there a Droidcon question? Droidcon.
Yeah, towards the end. 3 up from the top. There you go.
Damian, Droidcon speaks. Will they be available online? Yes, they will. So they'll be on Droidcon's website along with all the others. It normally takes a couple of weeks for them to get up there. I think there's a mailing list you can join that you'll get announcements on, and that'll tell you if when they're up online. But I'm sure if you follow me on Twitter, I'll be letting you know when all the videos are out as well. So cool. Let's go top down, see where we're going.
Yep. Earliest first.
Earliest first. Get in early and you get your questions answered.
FIFO, first in, first out.
Indeed. I use a custom API backend to push through HTTP a post which is received through a PHP API listening on the web. I really liked a direct TCP type daemon. Any suggestions? So, I mean, we spoke about this quite a lot. What you can do is create one in Dart. So what you do is you install the shelf package. In fact, if you go on your command line, just do Dart create -t, I think it's shelf_server. There's a template already set up. I'm gonna literally go check this right now.
Okay, as he often does.
Dart create, shelf-server. So the command that you wanna run is Dart create.
And there's a couple of packages that sit on top of Shelf that might be helpful. There's Dart Frog, which is a fully featured with routes and all that sort of web server thing. There's is that ServerPod? It's called the other one. That's
ServerPod is another one. Yeah. There's a bunch of options.
There are.
Yeah, I was going to say was that Shelf is the one made by some of the people in the Dart team, and it's a good basis and it's well tested. And there's loads of packages that have extensions, right? But yeah, it's a good starting point. And if you use this, and then there's a router package as well that can then say, when you get / this, go run this function. So when you get a post with / whatever submit, run this thing, and it will just work. Now, once you've done that, you then need to get it up online. So that just makes the code work on your local machine and gets local host. You then need to publish it up online. There's several ways of doing that. Several providers. What are we thinking? Well, you could use Cloud Run, which is one I'd recommend. And there's a tutorial that I did. If you go to the Flutter YouTube channel, the official Flutter YouTube channel, in there you'll find that I did a 3-part series on doing exactly that on the Boring Show. Me and Craig made a server and then pushed it up. In the first episode, we made that live, I think. So you have to watch the first one. We were playing around with other things like making different nodes connect and talk to each other, which you don't need. Just honestly, you make your basic Docker file and do gcloud submit build or whatever it is, and bam, it's online, it's live. You get URL, it's easy. So that's what I'd suggest. You can also put on a custom domain and a subdomain or whatever on your site. So, but there's plenty of. I'm trying to think of there's a couple of different droplets. Who does droplets? It's Ocean. Digital Ocean is another.
Digital Ocean.
Yeah.
AWS obviously do. I was waiting for
everybody
you to
has hosting. There's 20 solutions there. 20 solutions. Yeah.
If you as long as you make your code Dockerized, as in it runs in a Docker container, and you can deploy it anywhere basically in the cloud provider.
We do not recommend a particular vendor until they sponsor this show. So
okay, I'm not going to.
Try all of them.
Go on, Sally.
Here's what I can say though. I'm not going to say if you can use any other services or not, but here is let me share it on you. Okay, on the private chat I will share it. Here's a YouTube video that I made about dhrub, which uses Shelf and AWS, so you can see how you can deploy Dart code as a backend.
That's out. That's in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
Perfect.
So that's really great as well.
Great.
And this is what I can say.
Yes.
All right, moving on. Next question.
Yeah, we got more still.
Any website available for getting a Flutter job, not a remote job? Flutterjobs.com, flutterjobs.info. There you go.
Yep.
Those are the two sort of sites I've seen. But I mean, the thing is, a lot of jobs for especially app development go through agents.
Yeah.
So you probably want to go find again. You want a job. You don't want a remote one. If you want it in person, you need to go find your local tech agency, right? I don't know what city you're in. I don't know what place you're in. But if you go looking for tech agencies in wherever it is, you can go find some and you follow their thing. You sign up with them. And then they will promote you as a person who does Flutter to other businesses on your behalf. And that's the best way to probably start getting a job in Flutter in your local area.
Also the meetups and everything is a good chance to, meet new folks from the community to find a job, because as social you are, you will have more chance to find someone who is looking for you. Even we had a coffee and talk kind of event in Flutter Berlin 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I've seen many founders actually coming to the meetup and trying to find some developers to work with them. Either be obviously it depends on what you want. You can be a co-founder, you can get paid, you can be a contractor, whatever you feel comfortable. You can actually have a chance to talk with them. So do not underestimate the conferences, meetups that is happening at your city. But
very
again,
important.
Bear in mind that you need to be active.
I will say I watch LinkedIn. I watch LinkedIn for jobs all the time, and there are more and more Flutter jobs showing up that have a locale as opposed to being remote. So check that out too. You might just type in your city in LinkedIn and Flutter and see what comes up.
A lot of the people that go to the meetups are actually also companies. A lot of the sponsors for these meetups are companies that want Flutter developers. So go to your local meetup. You'll probably find, you'll be surprised about how much availability there is.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. How to hide the keys, map keys, and API keys detailed from reverse engineering. So first of all, you should treat them as completely private because they are given to the client, right? You have other protections in place on the API calls, not just the key, right? But if you want to hide them from reverse engineering, the simplest way is to pre-encrypt them. So what you're doing is you can go right. In fact, I think you can run, was it Pointed Castle? I think it's Pointed Castle package in pub. You can write a little script, you give it a string and your key and your password key, and then it will output, the hex, the raw bytes in hexadecimal form for your encrypted string. And then you can just make as part of your app, when it first uses this object, it decrypts it, and the toString on this object gives you the contents, right? It just decrypts it once and caches it. You could do like a little something like that, which essentially means that when it's at rest, that is as a string inside your app, or even better, it's just a list of integers, it's raw bytes in your app. And therefore, when it comes to reverse engineering, there's nothing they can just look at statically and see. They actually have to run the code, work out what's happening inside the code to find out where that key is being used and how it's being decrypted. And the idea is that you ship the password, or it's not really a password, so don't put anything personal in there. It's your decryption key. You ship it as a static key within your app. So you're shipping the encrypted strings and the key inside your app, and it decrypts them at runtime. That's the best way to hide that kind of stuff inside your code. Yeah.
And then, of course, make sure all of your APIs are using SSL, but that might go without saying these days, but I want to say it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Then no one can sniff those keys as well.
Yeah.
No sniffing keys here.
I mean, like, one thing that I want to say is that, like, correct me if I'm missing a point as well, that, like, also your data shouldn't only, like, if it's a data that you can control, it shouldn't only rely on an API key. Like for the maps, I understand, but you should always keep in mind the authorization, like which data is belong to which people. So you need to be aware that there are several layers of security that you need to take care of. For the keys, for sure, like whatever Simon said is like, obviously they're really great practice, but at the same time, keep in mind that if your security is relying on one layer, then you need to think maybe twice.
And there's a follow-up here. There's a follow-up here. I like this. I've seen NV just recently. So
NV package can obfuscate the key.
Yeah.
Not heard of it.
Yep. And I bet he's looking for it right now in the pub. Because that's what he does.
I am indeed.
He's our Google monkey.
Envied. Hang on. So let's have a quick.
ENVIED. Yeah. Sorry, I took it away already.
Let's just share this tab and see what it's all about.
It looked pretty good when I was looking at it. It can either take stuff from the environment during a build, or it could take stuff from a .env file, but it doesn't ship the env file. So
sure. I mean, this makes sense. I mean, I've done the same similar thing before, but this just loads them. It doesn't do any encryption, right? But it's nice way of.
No, it does encryption too, I think.
Just a clean way to handle your environment variables. It doesn't.
Oh, it's obfuscated. It's like masked with the XOR, just to make it look like it's not bytes. Somewhere in the build process, it does that.
Does it?
Maybe I'm looking at a different thing then. Okay,
maybe it's
whatever.
Thing. Anyway,
let's move on. So find a package that does that. Tell us about it.
Yeah,
there
sorry,
must
I
be a
was showing
package
this
about
thing.
it.
Yeah, this just seems to be handling environment variables. So,
yeah,
but I'm sure you'll find some packages that will do what you want.
Yeah,
somebody has solved this problem already. We're sure. Well, it's
if they
solved.
haven't,
Just
make the package.
Somebody's automated it. Yes, contribute to the community by making your version available under a secret key. No, just kidding. That would be bad. All right,
next one.
New question. New question.
I've learned DDD from Reso site. That's domain driven development for people that don't know what it stands for. And I know there's MVVC, VVM, whatever, name your MV. Are there other architecture types that are best specifically for Flutter front end, Dart back end? Yes.
Next question.
So if you look, I mean, the thing is, these patterns and architectures aren't something that they're just organizations of ways of doing things. You can just come up, as long as you are consistent with the way that you do things, that's fine. Like, choose whatever you want. MVI, model view intent, is one that kind of suits the declarative reactive nature of Flutter. But also all the standard Flutter ones. So using like block and Riverpod and things like that, which give you that kind of control, right? Now you can generate that pattern however you want, right? Like, I don't know, like anything you guys want to add?
Yeah. Andrea Bizzotto did a series on clean architecture recently, and it takes a look at Reso's work as well. So it's worth checking in. I'm trying to get a good link for it here. It's Andrea tutorials. Where is that at? Tutorials. Your Google skills may be better.
Well, when you find it, we'll post it in the chat.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, one thing to keep in mind is that all of these are tools per se for you to do your job better. So there are some general rules that you need to keep in mind. Like, let me talk. The clean architecture is kind of a, like boogeyman right now in the software world, because I recently realized that, like, for example, from the native mobile side, I saw that there's a 6th version of clean architecture now going on. So long story short, like, you should use these tools as a way of describing your work, because honestly, I cannot agree with Simon more, because like all of these tools like state management message packages and so on actually help you to do these kind of patterns in a way that like you don't even realize. The important point is your like responsibilities should be split up, your code should be independent according to what they do, and your code should be like testable. Like, you don't need to write tests. It's totally up to you. Some people like it, some people don't. But overall, like, I can definitely say that, like, use these tools to create your own way and actually make it the best possible version of whatever you have.
Right. I've just put a couple of links in the chat to Andrea's Code with Andrea site, which is a great site. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. A lot of good stuff recently on Riverpod 2, which is really fun, and things are going great that way. Check out the rest of his stuff. He's a sharp cookie and does really good tutorials.
Yeah.
Also has videos too, in case you don't want it as just reading, but either way is good.
Yeah. Now I saw a question that I will love, I guess. Am I just lucky to be here for this question?
Yep.
So, okay, I didn't introduce myself, so I will introduce myself a bit. So, hello everyone. In case you don't know me, I'm Sally. I have been a Flutter developer for 4 or 5 years now. I don't know how long.
What's funny is it sounds like what is it, like a anonymous group. Hi, I'm Simon. I've been a Flutter developer for 4 years.
Yes, right.
Exactly.
Hi, Simon.
Oh, hang on. I think we have another guest.
Hey, Norbert. How are you doing?
Good. How about you?
Good, man. Good to see you.
You too.
Yes. Yes.
So Salih, what's the difference between AWS and Amplify? Are they both the same?
Yeah, that is an excellent question. So, as a developer advocate from the AWS Amplify team, I can so here's the situation. AWS Amplify is a set of tools that you can use to create your front-end applications. It has database, like it's working as a backend as a service, but also it has many more features like authentication, UI libraries, storage, and many more other stuff as well. It is using AWS technologies behind the scenes. So as Amplify, we are actually a subgroup of AWS. So for storage, for example, we are using S3 buckets behind the scenes. For API, we are using API Gateway and Lambdas. For data store, we are using AppSync and like many more AWS technologies. Yeah.
Is this that? So from my mind, this is the same as like when we talk about Google, because I'm just going to mention that because that's a lot of people. Firebase and Amplify are very similar, whereas AWS and Google Cloud are similar, right? So Firebase works on top of Google Cloud platform, and Amplify works on top of AWS.
Exactly. So whatever you know from AWS, you can use it. These technologies also can be mixed and matched. So in case you have a favorite AWS technology and you want to use Amplify with, you still can. So
if I had an app and I made user accounts with is it Cognito? Cognito. Sorry. With Amplify, those authenticated users could then potentially use AWS services.
Exactly.
Not just Amplify services.
Exactly. So you can port also, for example, you start off an app created with Amplify and like scaled up to a level, then like you say, okay, like I love the scalability, but still I want to have my own like backend like serverless architecture. You can port whatever you have with Amplify directly into AWS services as well. So you do not need to lose any data or users and anything. All of these are supported. So it is not just like we are saying, it is actually using AWS technologies behind the scenes. It's just an abstraction for making your life easier, so you can actually focus on more on the UI part, and business logic will be handled for you.
Cool. So Norbert, do you want to introduce yourself? Because I just brought you on here on this.
Yeah, sure. My name is Norbert. I've been doing and using Flutter for a couple of years since it was an alpha. Been part of the community since the very beginning. And I've been working on a bunch of dev tools and building stuff throughout the years. I
mean, there's a great tool that you've been working on. Was it Detective?
Yes, that was my last bigger project that I had.
Detective, and the website is detective.dev if anyone wants to go check it out. So yeah, this allows you to kind of manipulate variables and things inside your app instantaneously, so you can see how things change. Basically, am I right in thinking that, Norbert? This is one of its main features, right? Real-time inspection and state manipulation, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the two of the big features. Yeah, I was really curious because when you are debugging your app, with pretty much every language and every framework, you have to pause your app to look at stuff. But sometimes you have stuff that is like changing fast and you want to see how it behaves over time. And with this tool, you don't have to stop your app and can just observe how your app is moving from state to state in real time, and also change stuff if you so desire to do.
Yeah, it's quite common behavior in most app development that you're debugging with debugger and you pause your app in the debug, and then you can change the state, and then you can start your app again and see the changes. But this is like live. You can just seal your state, change it, and it just instantly changes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's right.
Awesome. That is so cool. And I think people should check that out. All right. Yeah. Let's crack on with some questions and see where we get to. Can we somehow show rewarded add in Flutter View attached to Android service without any activity? Does anyone want to take a stab at this? Because I'm not sure I get it.
I don't understand the question.
Show rewarded ad in Flutter View attached to Android service. In Flutter View attached to... I don't get it. Sorry. Maybe perhaps you can reword your question, Kishan, and
yes,
we can answer.
Still have plenty of time to get another question in that might make sense to us.
What is the recommended package to use for live streaming in my Flutter app? At the moment, I'm using Agora. I mean, good question. I mean, live streaming as in live streaming video or live streaming data? Because I don't... What does Agora...
I think it's video.
Agora's a video. Yeah, video platform.
It's a video platform. I mean, at the end of the day, you can use any... Oh, yeah. No, I've seen this before, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you can use any... I don't think there's any recommended one. I mean, they're all much the same, and they all cost... I mean, the problem is that it takes server time to do encoding of video, which means it's costly. Live streaming is quite costly. That you pay per minute, right? You pay per viewer as well, because it's a lot of bandwidth streaming video. So you know, you get 1,000 people watching a video. That's 1,000 times the video file size, essentially, right? So if you've got, let's say, HD video, and it's a gigabyte, I don't know, per half an hour, and you've got 1,000 viewers, and your stream is half an hour long. Suddenly, that's 30 gigabytes. You're whatever, like a lot of users, a lot of gigabytes. So it adds up very quickly. So,
and again, not to recommend a specific vendor, but Cloudflare recently in their blog talked about how they're doing Edge, RTMP, whatever it's called. And it's really, really good for doing that kind of simulcasting, because they're using all their 150 locations around the world to stream parts of it. It's real good response time stuff.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's one of the actually big problems with the internet, right? So let me just explain something quickly by principle here, right? If you go watch, just for the users at home here, if you go watch a YouTube video, and let's say all four of us go watch a YouTube video, we're each getting a separate stream of the video data, right? Meaning it's 4 times on the internet as a whole. That means we've used up 4 times the bandwidth that the networks can supply that build up the internet for no good reason, because we're all watching the same data, right? That's why it's when it comes to live streaming, it's nicer to use UDP. And now there's a thing on local networks. This is when you do live streaming this is before the internet, really. Like a lot of local networks, when they want to do like this live streaming, it uses multicast. Multicast is a way of sending one packet, and it goes out to anyone that wants to receive it. And it just gets duplicated where it needs to. And it means it's very, very efficient for the network to supply. However, the internet does not support multicast for many reasons. Hang on. I think we have another guest. Hey, John, welcome.
Hey.
It's nice to see you back in the States. You enjoy your trip to London?
I did, yeah. We had a great time. My wife accompanied me, and outside of the Droidcon, we went and did a little sightseeing. So it was a good time.
Good time. So I'm just going to complete this while I was a second here. So the internet doesn't support multicast. However, there are ways to solve that. And the current mechanism is using edge nodes. That is, along the internet, there's nodes that are nearest to people in their cities that support caching of content. And these are for CDNs, or content delivery networks. We've lost Randall. I think he's going to stay around helping with the questions here in the background. I've got thumbs up from Randall. Yes, yeah, that's what he's going to do. So the point of those edge nodes is that it means that the bandwidth used on the networks is just from the edge node to your home, which means across the backbone of the internet, there's a lot less bandwidth being used. So a lot of this video content that needs to be distributed really needs to go through CDNs and really come from these edge nodes to really get the best use out of the internet. Because honestly, when we get to that point, like saturation of connections is quite a concern. It would be surprising how much it gets there. It's nice to say I want to go send a gigabyte, or I want to go into Steam and download a 30 gigabyte game every day, but that has to come from somewhere. So anyway, I'll shut up about that. So when it comes to live streaming, we talked about like where it's coming from. Like you said, Agora, right? But from your app, you just use the video player package. The video player package supports a HLS stream. You give the HLS URL, and that's it. It plays it. So I think if you're talking about how to get a live video streaming in your app, the standard video player, video_player, will do just what you want. Does anyone else have anything to add to that?
No, that'd be the.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okello? Sorry if I butchered your name. Is there a better way to handle localization other than using translations JSON files? If not, do you have any tips on how to do it better? Translation JSON files. I mean, the default mechanism built into Flutter is ARBs, and that's Flutter localizations. That's the standard format. But ARBs are essentially, well, they are JSON format, aren't they? I think ARBs,
Yep.
Yeah. So I think that could be what you're talking about here. But yeah, I mean, it's just one way though, right? At the end of the day, Flutter's support of localizations is just an interface. It just says, here's how you supply, was it app localization, I think is the top level class, I forget. But it just has an interface to asynchronously load whatever translations you want. How your app retrieves those translations and how it works is completely up to you. So if you wanted to, you could have a series of keys and a hash map and just load a big hash map and then just request them all across the app based on the keys.
But to be honest, I had this problem of localizing the app a couple of days ago. So when I started working on this app, I was pretty lazy and I just hard-coded all the strings in one language. And then I had to sit down for literally, I think it was 3 or 4 hours, just going through all of the app, extracting the strings into this RB file, and man, and I really feel like there's the Flutter Intel plugin, and like the system of using the RB files, which is somewhat okay-ish supported, but I feel like there is really room for improvement when it comes to localization and translation.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice to see some IDE plugins, something that's not just like generates the code, but something to have tables, have the different languages, being able to manipulate them. There are services that offer this exact service. So Localizely, Localize with a K. These are ones that I've used in the past with
also, Localizely has IDE support as well. That was really cool.
As far as I understood, the Flutter Intel plugin is actually by Localizely. Is that correct?
So there's Localize spelled like this, and they have an SDK, a Flutter SDK somewhere, and then there's Localize. What's it say? Localizely or something. I just spelled that. Where is it? Is that the one? No, that's Localizely. That's not what I want. Does anyone? Do you remember the? Do you have the website address? Oh, there you go. Localize.js. That's not it, is it? Localizejs.com. Maybe it is. For mobile, translate app mobile apps. Sounds like it. I'm just going to assume that this is the other website, Localize. But yeah, there's on pub.dev. That's not it. There's, they all have their own like packages to help. You said there was a plugin, Norbert, for the IDE for a few of these.
So there is the Flutter Intel plugin, which I'm pretty sure is by Localizely. It's actually pretty neat because it can help you extract strings which you have hard-coded into like the RB file. Unfortunately for me, it just didn't work on IntelliJ. So I had to switch over to VS Code, which I despise. but yeah, I still feel like there's quite a bit of room for improvement when it comes to like handling all these strings. Once you have like the reference to the variable inside your code, it gets harder to deal with because you don't see right away what kind of string it is. There's a bunch of things that I feel like just becomes harder.
This is the one.
Yeah.
This is the other one I was looking for, localizely, and yeah, this has like a web interface and so on. But obviously, you know, they're paid for services. You have teams. Normally, the reason why these services exist is because translations should be done by people that speak the language, right? And let's get back to this. Translation should be done by people that speak the language. So normally you get someone who speaks Italian from your company to go onto the website and adjust all the Italian stuff, and someone who does French stuff, and German and whatever else. So you get the phrasing and the grammar correct for that language. You just put them through Google Translate is not normally enough, right? That's kind of like very robotic, right? Like you'll get something that kind of makes sense, but is never like how a native speaker would say it. So yeah, so it's nice to have that. But the other side of this, a lot of these companies offer a service where they'll translate for you. They'll have translators in those countries that will translate the phrases for you, and you can do that as well. But it all obviously costs money to do all this. So you know,
if you don't do it with a professional, it would just funny in languages like mine. Like for like generally spoken languages, like for example English, German, Italian, whatever. Like these systems are even kind of okay-ish. But honestly, as it grows, it just simply becomes weird. I think also I remembered one more product called Crowdin. Did we talk about it? Crowdin is also something that, so Crowdin has its own translators inside it. So people come in and do the translation, and they get paid for each translation that they do. And right. I think they have the Flutter support as well. It was a good one too, but it's also paid, so it's not free.
I think the key here is like, you know, is getting your strings and we say strings, right? But they're also like you have placeholders in there, so it's like if it's many, then you do a plural and things like this. There's just to be clear, the package that you normally use is called intl. For those that don't know, so the package that actually does the so the package that actually does, was it that it's called Flutter? Is it localizations or something? Flutter localization. I forget. There's the inbuilt package for Flutter, but then there's the intl package, which is the general internationalization package. And this is how you set your sort of default locale. And you can also fetch it from the system. There's other ways, but you do this on your app startup, and then you can initialize. There's a function called like init date formatting somewhere, and all the rest of it. But the idea here is you define these internationalizations where you have your English, the name of this thing, and a description, and then you put this in your app, and basically those can be extracted out into your internationalization. There's a whole actually there's a piece on the Flutter website, isn't there, for this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you go to docs on the Flutter website, internationalization, probably under that, I guess, or it might be localization. Yeah, Flutter localizations. There you go. You can add in this is like what's into your Flutter app. So this is default. If you override localization delegates, you need to supply the material ones if you use material widgets and so on. What languages you support, and then yeah, this talks about how you define your directory, your ARB files, what files it's going to generate. And then when you run the command, which is further down, I mean, it'll generate the file which has getters for your strings. And then those can also be run through the internationalizations suite. We're just talking about to do plurals and everything. Yeah, there's a whole piece in here about it. So I'll pop that in the chat for anyone that wants to read up on it a bit more. But yeah, supporting multiple languages is a big thing for apps. If you want to go like and get good support worldwide, you want to be doing that. I guess next question. Should I use a custom lint package or use analyzer plugin for custom defined lints?
Sure.
Should I use a custom lint package or use analyzer plugin?
So are the analyzer plugins actually stable already? The last thing I heard is that they kind of work, but they are not really intended to.
This is about making your own custom lints, is right? But what's what I'm trying to get? Like, should I use a custom lint package or use analyzer plugin? I don't. For defining custom lints is what he's trying to say. So he wants to know, should he use custom lint package, whatever that is, or analyzer plugin? I don't know. Any suggestions, anyone?
As far as I know, the lints, like lint packages, all they do is kind of they set to enable or disable a lint, which is already pre-specified by the DAR and Flutter team. Whereas an analyzer plugin actually gives you access to like all the analysis context where you can traverse the AST tree and kind of analyze your whole program. The last time I played around with these, they were wildly unsupported and highly experimental. I think there were issues in the past regarding multiple analyzer plugins taking up a bit of performance. I don't know what the current state on these are, if anyone else knows.
So I'm just taking a quick look around here. Let's see if I can get this up on stream. Yeah, there's the analyzer. So there's tools.dart.dev analyzer plugin. So this is what you're talking about, right? Tutorial describing how to do the support. I never even tried this before.
So at the top of the pub set, it said that it is not the plugin support is not currently available for general use. I think it's still very experimental and not really mature. So I feel like just going with lints that are already predefined is the best bet to get these working.
I mean, yeah, it's not even version 1, and the API is liable to change. But if you need something,
sure,
try it out. I mean, why not, right? Give everything a try, see if it does exactly what you want. But I think a lot of this is
they're actually pretty advanced. So you can also supply quick fixes, custom definitions, and all sorts of things that the plugin itself allows you to do refactoring.
I was just looking at these like examples here. Yeah, look, quick fixes, quick assists, quick fixes, code completions, navigation information, occurrences, outline folding. That's really something. I really like to see this become stable. This could be very, very powerful.
If they're looking for different lint packages, Mike has a nice write-up that he keeps up to date on.
Oh, Mike Rydstrom,
yeah.
Do you know where that is?
Yeah, I got it. I'll drop it in the chat to you.
Drop it in the chat. Cool. That's I'll pop that out there on the live chat, and it's rydmike.com/blog_flutter_linting.html. So you can go find his blog post there. I'm sure you just go to his website; it'll be linked as well. So that's posted in the chat there for everyone that needs it. Right, moving on. What do we have next? What positive change will bring WASM 2 in context for Flutter Web? Can you explain about WASM 2 in context of Flutter? No, because it's the first time I'm hearing of WASM 2.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Nope. Same here.
No idea.
You found a question we can't answer. Da, da, da. I mean, WASM in general. Have you heard of WASM 2 or not? I mean, there's no reference to that on the official WebAssembly site, as far as I can see.
Didn't find one either. No.
Like, I'm looking at the roadmap here. I'll bring up the roadmap here. So this is the official WebAssembly roadmap here and support WASM 2C, which is just a conversion. It's not WASM 2 as a version. And this is just like what support from WASM it has. I don't think we're not even there on full feature support of WASM, so I can't expect there to be any sort of like overall, WASM 2 already. So I wonder where you're getting this information from. Let us know. Let's move on. James says, is there a Go-Amplify? I'm assuming that means Golang Amplify.
So Amplify is a front-end library, right? So it supports all the front-end languages per se, like Dart for Flutter, Kotlin and Java for Android, Swift for iOS and macOS JavaScript for web. So since Go is not used in front-end side, at least I don't know of, we are not. But if you want to have lambdas with Amplify, then you can do it with Go.
Yeah, Go. I mean, I've seen people. There is a couple of Go mobile kind of like mechanisms, but it still hasn't gained a lot of traction.
They are just ports right at the end. So like,
yeah,
from the official side, with the official languages for like web frameworks and so on. But I just mean
in general, like people using Go to build mobile apps is not like it hasn't really been picked up that much, and it's a nice like, you know, if you like Golang and you want to build an app, yeah, sure, but it's definitely not simple, right? It's not the desire, probably not the direct method you should use, but yeah, if you like it, go for it. I don't think there is Amplify support though.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Before you answer the question, by the way, I will jump off now. I need to jump off for other meetings, but it was great to see everyone. And
thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. And probably we will see each other soon later on here as well. Take care, everyone.
Cool. See you then.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Oh, where'd that come from?
One by one. Yeah.
One by one. Right. Where were we? Trying to build our app in iPhone, but keeps telling me framework not found Flutter. Trying to build our app in iPhone. Never. I mean, I would first of all suggest that you make sure you got the latest version of Xcode. You're not using Xcode beta. Like there's so many things like. This is not specifically to Flutter. This is that it can't find a framework. This is a build problem with Xcode. So, yeah, make sure you got the most recent version of Xcode and your environment is set up right. You can just go into Xcode, build a standard iPhone app, like generate the example, run it, and see if it runs on your iPhone. Right? That'd be my first thing, right? My next thing I would suggest to you in the framework not found is to delete the Android folder from your Flutter project and do Flutter create dot inside your project directory, and that will create a new iOS directory. Then try hit play and see if it, you know, builds and runs. But yeah, framework not found, that's obviously, you know, a problem. I would also make sure you obviously Flutter's up to date and Flutter's on your path. Make sure you follow you got installed correctly. Yeah. So
yeah, to me it's a path issue is what I would guess first, that Flutter was put on but not added to the path.
The thing is, the framework is added to the local as during build is added to the local direct, the iOS references in the Xcode project. So that shouldn't be a problem. It's something around like your installation of
Randall.
I don't have a detailed answer, but I'm wondering what Flutter Doctor is returning. I want to know that all the pieces are in place.
Yeah, no, that's a good chat. I forget about Flutter Docs. It's been so long since I had to run that. Do you remember at the very beginning, you'd be running Flutter Doctor all the time during alpha to make sure you're able to configure it right. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, constantly.
So run Flutter space Doctor on your command line, and it will tell you if you've got everything set up right and
-v. Look for the verbose. It's fun.
Yeah, give you all the details. All right, hopefully that helps. How to provide video for offline use like YouTube does, but I also don't want the user to find the decrypted videos. I want to decrypt the video when I need it only. So the answer is just download it into the application directory. So if you go and look on pub.dev, and this is what most people don't realize, that like your application has a directory that is private to the application. Even the user can't see the data from the application. So there's a package that's provided as standard called Path Provider by the Flutter team. Let's bring this up on screen. Here we go. Is it Path Provider? Yeah, there you go. And in here you've got you can get the application documents directory, I think it's called. You have to go check, but it's a private directory where like the application support directory is the public one for the application, right?
This is
and obviously
So does this like actually really hide it in a way that it's not really possible to access it, or does it just make it so when using the file explorer that users won't access
No, they're not. They can't access the data. So even if you debug an installed application, you can't see that application's files.
So you'd probably have to be some sort of rooted user to access those.
Yes. Yeah. And then that's the other thing to protect against that, and just to kind of, you should also obviously that this is protected, right? And you can have them decrypted, right? If they can't copy the files, they can play them though. But when it comes to playback, you can add this package, free rasp or others. There's other ones, but this is about real-time application self-protection. And basically, if I scroll down, once you it's quite complicated to install, but if you want to protect your app, you probably want this. And this will tell you if it detects root or an emulator or someone's trying to tamper with things, and then you can delete the files or shut your app down or don't let them to continue running the app, basically. I mean, the other thing is, if you're going to store them, as you said, you only want to decrypt the video when needed, you could store encrypted videos. And then, I mean, the thing is, what you have then is the key that you encrypt them with is private to the app. So the app puts that in its own storage, or it's a hard-coded key within the app, so that when the file's at rest, or let's say on their SD card or something, it's encrypted. And then when you read the file, you decrypt it as you play it. But that's not as simple as it sounds. Honestly, just store the videos in the private directory for the application. You're good to go. Feel free to jump in, guys, if you've got anything to add to any of these things. Sorry, I keep chatting away. See, how can we do push video streams to an RTMP server from Flutter Web? I mean, yeah. So I think a lot of people forget that Flutter Web is not specific to Flutter. You can do anything you can do in JavaScript in your browser, you can do with Flutter. Flutter just runs as JavaScript, right? Your Dart code runs as JavaScript, and you can do, there's JS interop, which means you can do anything you can do in JavaScript, you can do with Dart and Flutter, right? So there's no limitation here at all. So the answer is yes, you can, right? You can just use the standard. What's the new APIs? The video conferencing APIs for web. Hang on. I hope it's new streaming API. It's going to poke the hell out of me now. I can't remember the name of it. It was all the rage not too long ago. People were like, can you do this in Flutter? And so,
we're not WebRTC.
Yeah, WebRTC. That's the one I was thinking of. Yeah,
okay.
You're spot on the money there. So yeah, it's WebRTC, and that's what you would be using in this case. WebRTC allows you to stream data up to a server from the browser, and then the JavaScript media API set actually has support for those streams. So there you go. Yes, WebRTC. I'm sure someone's already made a package. If you go look on pub.dev, I'm pretty sure that you'll find like there's WebRTC packages around.
There's like WebRTC.
I just looked. There's that Flutter WebRTC. I don't know what this is.
Oh, I don't know, but it's sponsored by Stream. So
it's a streamer using this flutter-webrtc.org, and it supports desktop and web. That's amazing. So there you go. Look at that. Audio, video on all the platforms.
You get everything
Linux and embedded work in progress. So media recorder supported on web, which is the one you wanted. So there you go. Check out WebRTC, and if it doesn't support what you need, contribute, and then it's good for everyone then. Yeah, I think it'll be. Yeah, that needs anything else. Right. What are the best resources to learn render sliver? How can I create one from scratch? Norbert, how do you create render slivers?
Honestly, the first question I'd ask, why do you want to learn them? And do you really want to learn them? So, most of the time you don't really need to go as deep. If you want to do like some crazy effects, I think there was a talk on a conference. Let me think. I remember there was a talk. If you search online, probably you'll find it. The talks about render slivers, but yeah, I mean, looking at the docs and looking at examples, for example.
No, didn't you do a talk on this at Flutter Europe?
Actually, I did a talk about render boxes, which are similar but quite distinct. Yeah, the protocol is quite a bit different, but yeah, I think a good resource to look into how to make more complicated effects is actually the sliver app bar, which you can use to kind of make the app bar collapse and scroll with the
there's a widget called, was it Sliver Persistent Header, which is the widget.
Yeah,
and you can just do your own like delegate for that, and then you can just do what you want as the header moves and scrolls.
But yeah, like be warned, like the API for these more low level things are very you can mess up really easily, and you will probably spend quite a bit of time debugging values
I've built slivers before, and yeah, I wish I never did touch it. Right, like it's really complicated. So I'm going to mention that this is something that people don't realize exists. Sliver layout builder, and what this is it itself is a sliver. You can put it in your by default custom scroll view, right? Custom scroll view, which is the widget underneath everything, takes a list of slivers, right? So this allows you to give it a list of slivers. A sliver is, for those that don't know that's watching, a sliver is a portion of scrollable content. A sliver, a slice of a cut of scrollable content. And so as you can see here, you can do a scroll view with a sliver app bar, then a grid, and then after that grid, you can have a fixed extent list, and you can just mix and match all this content. It's really good. Now, when it comes to generating custom slivers, a lot of the time you don't need to. So what you can do is you can get away with using a sliver layout builder, and inside your sliver layout builder, it returns a sliver, and from that, you can return what's called a sliver to box adapter, right? And this basically means that you can put one of these render boxes, that's the normal widgets that we normally deal with, inside a sliver. And so if you mix these two together, as I said, a sliver layout builder and a sliver to box adapter, you can actually do most of the things you would do with a custom sliver without having to go down that way, right? So this will give you, in the builder that you get called back, you get the sliver constraints. And the sliver constraints are all what you would use for custom rendering, which give you all these fancy things. It allows you to monitor all these things about how far you're in cache or paint or whatever, and you can just change the way your widget gets displayed based on that. It's definitely not as controllable as if you did your own sliver, but it's somewhere that can get you started. So
it's pretty cool. I didn't know about this widget.
I have too many widgets in my head.
I always learn stuff with Simon.
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully that, I don't know if there's any good resource and render slivers. I would say as another answer to this, go look at the source code for the ones that are built into Flutter.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
command click, go through the source code, figure out how it works, understand it. And also there's tests as well. So you go to the Flutter repo, you can see all the tests and what they're doing. So that can also help you in understanding what they're and how what they work and how they work and so on. Right. Chris Chan. Oh, I want to say thank you again to Chris Chan. I know it's on the last video, the last Humpday Q&A. He set out all the questions, and we'll be updating all the chapter markers and all the videos as we go. We're a bit behind. So thank you again, Christian, for doing that. In Amplify, sorry, so he's gone now. Let's see if we can answer this.
He actually dumped it in the chat.
He did?
Yeah, he gave us the answer in the private chat before he left.
Oh, okay. Hang on, let's see what I've got. He said there's a question about Amplify.
He also answered it. He answered it in the public chat too.
Oh, he answered in public chat.
I'm going to read this just for those people. In Amplify, configuration for an existing API goes into Amplify configuration.json, but I believe that gets everyone when you change the environment how to handle this. And he said he answered in chat, and they're actively working on this. Auth is on the developer preview, and there'll be more coming soon, so stay tuned. So there you go. So no direct answer, but it'll keep you going. So there you go. I also noticed, John, you said there's an article on Ray Wenderlich as well for
on the sliver stuff. Yeah, I threw that in the chat.
I say Ray, I forget now, right? So
But
Ray Wenderlich,
what are they, Codico now or something like that?
So, yeah, so the new RayWenderlich.com. I like the way they've added that just to make sure people don't think they've got lost, right?
Yeah.
Codeco. So yeah, slivers in Flutter getting started. I'll post this link in the chat, and people can check this out. So this is one of those like courses and so on that you can do Ray Wenderlich and follow that. So yeah, have fun. Cool. I have a Flutter app that runs a $4,000 Android service. Services showing another Flutter app on Window Manager. Okay. Can I show rewarded ad there? I mean, so it sounds to me this sounds to me like you've overcomplicated all of this. To be honest, I have a Flutter app that runs in that runs a $4,000 Android service. Services showing another Flutter app. I think it means just another Flutter window. It's like the same app installation on the window manager, and Flutter _float win, I guess, is the floating window. So another way you have like chat heads in Facebook and chat and all that. You know what I mean? Like the stuff that overlays the window. That's called a floating window. It's part of the window manager on Android. So I assume that's what that's talking about. And he's like, can I show a rewarded ad there? I don't know. Can you? I mean, like you're asking us like the answer is go get the ads library from Android. And can you show an ad there? I mean, the thing is, it sounds to me like you're trying to start going into very custom Android specific things, in which case you need to be doing the code in Kotlin, right? You need to be doing that piece and doing your own plugin for Flutter at that point. But there is a ad. I know they've got the ad library now. What's it called? The
mobile Flutter.
Yeah, the
mobile ad SDK.
There's a mobile ad SDK, Firebase. What's it? Fire. What's the official one? It's apparently Google _mobile _ads is a package on pub.dev. So I'm assuming that this will give you, or at least link you to what you need. I don't know the full details, so I'm not even gonna. I don't know. I feel like that's not.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one for displaying ads from.
Which one?
From AdMob. Yeah.
Oh, I thought is it not like an AdMob?
I think that's, but I think they point you to using the other one now. I think that's.
Oh, okay. Because I know there was like some other ones floating around, but I would be careful with all the non-official ones because they may be seen as you simulating clicks and faking clicks on adverts, in which case it'll get your account banned. So just saying right now, this is your only warning. Use the official SDKs only.
Yeah.
Right. Let's carry on. Keep your questions coming in. Keep your queue in front of them in the chat. That'll keep our Randall man happy. So don't forget. Right. Let's carry on. Isa.
Web app.
Which widgets help me to create an easy navigation on a web app in Flutter? I mean, which widgets help me create an easy navigation in a web app in Flutter? I mean, like, I'm not sure I can answer that. I mean, how would you answer that, guys?
Probably, I mean, instead of widget, I would say it's a package you want to use. For example, the Go router package, which is now, I think it is officially supported by the Flutter team, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like an abstraction on top of Navigator 2.0, which was specifically designed with web in mind, with deep linking, with like navigating to routes and doing all the web specific things. So check out Go router. I think there's a couple of alternatives if they fit you better. But yeah, using something on top of Navigator 2.0 will work really well on Flutter Web.
So yeah, Go router. I did a couple of talks on navigation and Navigator 2.0. So go just look up my name and navigation. I'm sure you'll find it. And there's route master as well. Navigator 2.0 package route master. If you haven't used that, that's another option. There's plenty of them. So yeah.
Auto route. I've heard good things about.
Yeah, auto route. What's the oh goodness me, Robbie, you know, our French guy. Oh my god, Robbie. What is solids? That's it. Autumn Flutter. That's what I was looking for. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah. So there's a repo, Solido Awesome Flutter, and this is a curated set of content about Flutter. If you go navigation, then you go Fluoro, some other content here. Beamer is another known package. So this is a nice little curated set of content which you can get some feedback on, like in terms of what packages maybe to use. So I'll pop that in the chat as well. Sumeet, how can we bundle Dart/Flutter packages or plugins in dynamic fashion to reduce the size for users not using the full feature? It already does. So Dart code itself is tree shaking, meaning that any Dart code not used is not included in your final application. However, plugins is a different thing. So I'll give an example. Firestore. In Firestore, you might be using just read document from their sort of API surface, right? But the problem here is that when it passes that boundary, that interface carries write document, save document, monitor document, live stream document, whatever, you know, all these different things. And all those features are going to be included because the native code is one whole unit. It cannot be subdivided and tree shaken along with your Dart code. So all native code for a package that you include is included in your application. It may not be called from Dart, but it's going to be included. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I'm reading this question slightly differently, like how more of like a component framework, right? How do you include pieces and not include pieces to limit size? Like if you have a feature enabled, right? So runtime loading or something like that.
So the way you do that is Dart define. So you automatically get that done for you. So if you go look up Dart defines. Dart defines are a mechanism that at runtime, when you compile your app or when you run your app, you can declare some variables, some initializations. You can then read them with like string.from environment or bool.from environment or int.from environment. These are getters, and they are constants. So you always have to, when you use those functions, you have to put them in constant variables. But it means because they're constant, they are tree shaken when your app compiles, and that gives you the benefit of any code that's in these if brackets for these, like, is this variable declared, you know, or is the content of the string like dev, then include all the dev stuff. All that stuff will be chucked out if it doesn't match that if conditional, vice versa. So
also one thing to note with the Dart defines, obviously this doesn't work if you have one app and you want multiple users to kind of use the same app. You have to recompile the app. Generally speaking, correct me if I'm wrong, but the actual code that you distribute with your app, like I'm talking about Dart code, doesn't really increase the size of your application too much because it is compiled. It is it's not that much. Most of the size probably comes from assets and optimizing those assets, for example, converting to SVG to WebP or stuff like this will probably make the biggest chunk of improvements.
So Dart comes with WebP support built into the actual Dart engine. So you can actually, so the Flutter engine itself comes with that. So you can actually use WebP on iOS, for example, and all across the board. The same goes for, I can't wait for AV1 support. I really want AV1 support because that is just even better in terms of compression quality ratio. Yeah, I've seen this before. People put like a background on their app and it's like a 4 megabyte JPEG and they just throw it in their app. And they're like, why is my app so big? We just added a 4 megabyte image. And they had 10 of those because they wanted to have theming. And suddenly it's like, well, why is my app 14 megabytes? It's like, because you did this, right? So you need to make sure that you go in, you resize those JPEGs down. You can also, in a lot of tools, change the compression level to get the best quality to size ratio on your files. And most of the time, you don't need like a 4K asset ever, right? So, yeah. Go on.
I've got one other take on this question, and I'm wondering if they're talking perhaps about on the web having and using the deferred load ability.
Yeah, that's another thing. So it's called deferred imports. There's a page on it, isn't there? I think.
Is that
I think there's a page still.
So they responded in the chat that they're talking about native binaries are increasing the size.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna like just I can't find the page. Why can't I find it?
Also, there's if you're using Android Studio, for example, there's this neat tool that lets you analyze your APKs. I think you can just drag and drop into Android Studio APK.
Yeah.
And it's basically just a zip. So it just decompresses the zip, and you can take a look at what actually takes up all the space.
I'm not joking. I said this so many times when I was at the Droidcon conference, it was untrue. And I want to say it here to everyone as well. By default, when you build your app, it is building a version that supports multiple platforms. So your APK size is going to be like 100 megabytes, right? But that is not what the user downloads. The whole idea of this, of like this packaging of let's say for Android specifically, it's APK or or an AAB, an Android application bundle, is that includes all of the artifacts for all the different variations of your app. That gets uploaded to the Play Store. Now, what happens is the Play Store will extract the bits that the user needs from that and re-sign it and send it down to the user. And in doing so, the user only receives the quality of images that they need for their device. They'll only receive the native binaries that are needed for their device. So it will not be as big as you think. That's why once you've uploaded the thing to the store, it says you estimated app download size, like on the Play Store, which is based on your specific device. If someone else opens the screen up, it might be larger, it might be smaller, right? So yeah, when you do that analyze APK, you're going to see libflutter.so 4 or 5 times in your APK file. Only one of those is ever going to be downloaded to a user, not all of the different variations. Okay, just want to make that clear because people get confused with that and they go crazy. Oh my God, Flutter's so big. It's like, no, you don't know how it's being used. So yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think you need to analyze your APK. I don't think there's a direct need in terms of deferring things. I think this is kind of what you're looking for. I'll pop this in on screen and in the chat. This is the other thing, deferred components. And I download additional dark code assets at runtime, and that can kind of like do this thing. This is a bit different though. If I remember rightly, using deferred imports, which can split into different AOT binaries. Is this now supported on? I mean, it looks like it's supported on Android using the multiple Play Store downloads. By the looks of it, this wasn't supported when I last looked at this. This was a way off, but it looks like now, split compat app. So it looks like there's a way of actually splitting your app into multiple segments using this deferred components technique. So this is probably what you're looking for, but it can get complicated. I've warned you now. Like it's not all that simple. You're playing with fire. That's what I say.
Before heading to the next question, I will need to head out. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you for coming.
It was fun to talk about a couple of Flutter things, and see you next time.
We'll see you soon. Thanks again. Bye.
Bye.
What have we got next? Boolean says, how would you wrap HTML across multiple pages in a page where existing HTML packages don't support it?
Wrap HTML multiple pages in a page view. So
the problem, I think the problem here is that so you're trying to have. I think the problem here, right, is any HTML that you put in is going to be like a fixed unit size. Yeah. And then, if you want that to scroll or move, you're going to have to do some very, very custom things, right? Like a page view itself recycles the pages. You're not going to get that if you want to cross multiple pages. So this is not something that you would just get out of Flutter out of the box, right? existing HTML package does support it. Well, I mean, like HTML packages don't support it. I mean, you can just dump any sort of HTML platform view straight in. Oh, what happened there? There we go. So I don't know. I think maybe the key here is you would probably end up having to do your own page view. So go look at page view. Where it actually is a scrollable with a viewport, and you can listen to the viewport updating. So the viewports are listenable. Sorry, it's called viewport offset. Let me bring up the API because it's been a while. So basically, scrollable is the outside widget. This replaces your page view, and this is actually what this grid view all use. What's this? Oh, like a book reader.
Yeah, I'm still not following what they're trying to do. Like, so they've got. Do they mean they've got like content for 2 pages of a book, and they're trying to put it in a view that's only showing the one, and they can't get to the second one? Is that what they're asking?
I mean, you would have HTML content. You'd have 2 separate HTML content views, one for each page.
Right.
They'll just be part of the UI, and they just move.
But the question, what was the original question? It was about wrapping HTML across multiple pages in a page view. Yeah, so it seems like they're trying to put the 2 pages into one page view.
I think I know what the problem is here. Well, I'm just gonna continue with what I was just talking about here, and I think we'll come back. So anyway, scrollable is your base thing. It has what's called a viewport builder, which is what you get asked to. It's just like a builder function. And in the builder function, you get given this viewport offset. This gives you the position. Viewport offset inherits from a change notifier, so you can listen to it, and this tells you when the viewport changes. And you can actually supply to scrollable the same axis, direction, scroll controller, and page scroll physics, and that literally now behaves like a page view, right? Now, you inside your viewport builder, you can return whatever widgets you want based on whatever information you want, based on the position that you have, and that completely gives you the ability to customize scrolling however you want. And you've got full control of that. So that would be, if you're trying to do custom scrolling or custom scroll behavior in terms of some custom thing like that, that's what I would go to first. However, I think I know what you're talking about. Now you've mentioned page book reader. I think I know what this is. It's because text wraps, right? So when you get to the bottom of a page, the text has to wrap onto the second page and continue, right? And wrapping is part and parcel of the way HTML works, wrapping around pictures and so on and so on. I think I would say you're going about this the wrong way. I would say I would not use HTML views for those pages. That would be my first inclination. You'd be better off doing some native rendering and just using you can just build widgets for the lines or build widgets for paragraphs, and you can do that all yourself, and that would make way more sense than using HTML views. Using a HTML view in a Flutter web situation should be your last resort. There's a lot of overhead. It's the same for any platform. Like you're trying to take 2 different frameworks and trying to bring them together. It's just never going to be as smooth as you want. And if you're trying to make it smooth, you end up with edge cases and things you're going to need to deal with, which is never nice. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. Sorry if it doesn't. Hey, Richard, long-time viewer. Amplify for desktop and web anytime soon. Coming soon, I think he said, right? Go bug Silly on Twitter. I'm sure he won't mind answering that on there. Go on. Did you want to say something, Randall, about that?
Hey, it's like people typically in this industry are not announcing schedules until it's shipped. So just keep watching for it.
Yep.
The thing is, it's that whole competitive thing. If one person's on one thing and then another company doing a compete probably want to work on it. So there's a thing where they just, here you go, it's just announced. Now it's here. Right? Next version, it has these new features. So hopefully hopefully they do what you want.
How does that affect Flutter adoption? Yeah.
So what's this? So what are the thoughts on recent release of Kotlin multi-platform? How does it affect Flutter adoption? I don't think it's any harm whatsoever. I think that you talk about Flutter adoption as if it's like only one group of people adopting Flutter, and the sort of like I've seen this before. We spoke about many people at the Droidcon conference actually. Many Android developers like, what about this? It's like, well, I actually spoke to a guy who did a talk on Flutter multi-platform on the speakers, and he explained how it works and how it's, and I could visualize the similarities between how Flutter works and so on, but it still uses the native widgets. It's still not the same. I think or they have what's it called? Kotlin Compose, I think it's called. I may be wrong, which is the same as Android Compose, which is built in the same way Flutter is. It's a declarative reactive system that uses functions instead of like
Jetpack Compose.
Jetpack Compose, that's the one. Yeah. And they've made a version of that, like I think it's called Kotlin Compose. It's like a version that's for Kotlin multi-platform, and you can build iOS apps with this, and that's great, but it's still not stable. It's still a long way from being where Flutter is right now. So I don't think it's going to affect anything right now. And truthfully speaking, they do different things. So I don't think so. Here's the thing, right? It might be one of those things where people try out Kotlin multi-platform and they kind of like it, and then they go and try Flutter and they go, oh, okay, I like this. I don't think it's going to have any big sort of impact at all. I think the market's going to split and fragment it as it needs it, and for me, I don't think Flutter solves a different problem overall. Yeah. And to be honest, and I don't think like Flutter should never be considered itself secure. We all need to have an effect on this. We all need to push for Flutter if you're interested in that. But Flutter has got the lead on this sort of market compared to multi-platform and others. So
I think it just depends on where you're coming from, right? If you're already doing Kotlin, you're probably, and you want to start attacking a multi-platform solution, you're probably going to stick with Kotlin multi-platform. If you're coming from web or something, you want to learn, something new, or you're trying to build once, run everywhere, Flutter might be the answer for you if that's the background. So I think they all have their place.
The question we always get from Android developers is why did Flutter not choose Kotlin? Why did they choose Dart? And it's like, it has its reasons. It always has its reasons, and I'm not going to go into them right now. There's you go read up on this online, right? Like the way it works. But it's suffice to say, Dart is not too dissimilar from Kotlin. It's not too dissimilar from Swift. It's not like a difficult thing to pick up either. So I'm preaching to the choir here. Most of the viewers are probably interested in Flutter anyway. So let's move on.
I will say we're down at the end of the show, so we're going to cut off questions at this point. So thank you, everybody. We have 13 still in the queue. We're working through those right now, but that's all the time we're going to have.
The new alternative for Skia. I haven't heard anything since Eric mentioned it.
What's this? Does anyone know about the news about the new engine alternative for Skia for Flutter, which Eric mentioned before he retired? It's called Impeller. And you can go look at all the sources is there. It's I'll bring it up on the screen here.
Yeah, I haven't heard any new news from the team though.
Yeah, it was. Didn't they say it was the latest version of 3.3 something has Impeller running for iOS by default? I think.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember.
You know what? I have a hard time remembering, but there'd be plenty of information on the system for it, on the blog. There it is, Impeller.
Yep.
So there you go. Here's Impeller. Oh. Yeah, Impeller is a prototype, work in progress. Proceed with caution.
Yep.
So and then this explains all the subdirectories and how they're being used, and offline compilation of shaders and all this lovely code. So if you want to go have a look, this is
actively being worked. If you look at when the changes have been checked in, I mean, there's stuff from yesterday.
7 hours ago, right there. Yeah. Ability to unregister shaders. Oh, that's very helpful. 7 hours ago. So yeah. And that wasn't me being sarcastic. I'm thinking it's very helpful to have that. You're going to need it. Actually, in fact, I just clicked on that. Hang on. There we go. I just clicked on that. Look, the history of engine impeller. Copy shaders, lib to output directory, Vulkan services, Android native views, all these lovely rendering things.
All kinds of stuff going on, yeah.
So go take a look. And that was just me clicking on the where is it up here? The history on the directory, right? So go take a look if you're interested. Moving on. Next question. Is it bad practice to use some mix of block RiverPod provider in the same project, or is it better to use one throughout?
Go on. Wants to answer that one.
Well, I did one. It's like, if you have lots of different systems, then where's the source of truth? That's what's going to be difficult to work out. And where do you put new stuff? You know, why would I put it in block, or why would I put it? And I certainly wouldn't want to use RiverPod and provider in the same project. That's just.
No, I was going to say, I've used block and provider in the same project before, and that's worked out really great. So provider is just using provider as an inherited widget supplement, right? So it just basically provides things down the tree. We're not using any of the complicated providers this and the providers doing all this, and we just use blocks for doing that. So the blocks is like the unit of business logic that we use for the front end screens. So the two things can work, and that's perfectly reasonable. So there's not bad practice to do this. The key is to be consistent, right, across your code base. Do it one way and do it the same throughout. Otherwise, don't have one screen doing one thing, another screen doing another thing, another section doing another thing, where you try different packages, because it's going to be a mess. It's not going to be
maintenance. And
have a well-described plan. Have a well-described and defined plan about we're using block for these kinds of things that are going on. Then we're using RiverPod for the rest, or whatever you do, but make a plan and make sure everybody communicates it. Yeah.
And the reason why Randall was talking about RiverPod there and provider using them in the same project is being bad is because they have an overlapping functionality, and in fact they have an overlapping naming as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to cause yourself a group there, because RiverPod is meant to be the next, essentially a replacement for provider, right? So in that sense, you'd probably be better off going with RiverPod, right?
Yeah.
So RiverPod and block, or provider and block, if you're trying to use these three that are on the screen. But yeah, if you want to use what's the other
GetX.
You're funny.
No,
there's no on that one. You could use like block and get it, like use get it as your dependency injection.
Yeah, get it. Get it is good. GetX not so good.
Get it. There's what's it's going to be annoying. What's the invoice? What's the package that Invoice Ninja is using?
There's some others. MobX? No.
MobX is another one. No, it's not that. I'm going to literally go look.
There's about a dozen. There's a dozen of them.
Where's their pub? Where's the pub spec YAML, just so I can go?
It's question mark state management on the Discord. That's all I know. And it dumps out a bunch of names.
So there is it's going to bug the hell out of me now. I can't write it. But anyway, there's more that you can mix together with provider and RiverPod and so on. So yeah. Have fun with that. I'm in the process of creating a Flutter Gazette. Flutter Gaza. Once Flutter team approve, will you guys help me by supporting our
I think they're just talking a new group, a new community.
Gaza. Sorry.
Gaza. Yeah. I read it the same way the first time. I'm like, what are they talking about? Then I read it again. I'm like, oh, they're talking about creating a new community.
Yeah, a new community. In the process of creating a new community, once Flutter team approve, will you guys help me by supporting by doing live streaming? Sure, we can help where we can. Yeah. That's
if you want to be a guest on the show, just let us know. Let us know in the comments, or let us know just in general.
Yeah, tweet us or something.
Yeah.
How to identify Flutter app running device developer mode enabled or not?
Device developer. So
basically, So it's what I mentioned earlier, that free RASP.
Yep.
Free RASP is not just what there's other packages are available.
Yes.
So you have. So I don't know if you know this, John, over here, that you can't on the BBC you can't be seen favoriting one supplier.
You got to give multiple options.
In multiple options. So basically, they mention one, and then you say, "But others are available." So it's the get out clause of basically saying you're not supporting just this one, but you're supporting all of them.
Yeah.
So,
but if you sponsor this show, we will only mention you.
We'll mention
you. That's the new level that we'll go to. The low level we'll go to. Yes.
We'll be complete sellouts. Yes.
Yes.
So yeah, this is it. Free RAS. So yeah, I think down here it actually had one of the detection things was where was it? Basically, is emulator detected or is it detected in is the right signature detected? Is it running in debug mode? Yeah, on debugger detected. There you go. Right. So you can look at their package. It's I think it's open source and see how they're detecting it. But you can there's several ways that you can detect if the app has been debugged. But to be honest,
plug in a Flutter jailbreak detection.
There you go.
As well.
Flutter jailbreak.
So there's also Guard Square, I think, do another one as well. There's a few companies all doing this thing. So there is the Dart. I don't think actually that's a good point. Actually, let's have a quick look here. Hello. There we go. API.dart.dev. I think the actual Dart API also has this would only detect if it's running in Dart debug, but in the core packages, which is not listed out here, Dart developer, that's the one I was looking for.
Yep.
Has debugger.
Breakpoint returns to value.
If when is true, stop the program breakpoint is here. Stop final statement when. I think this tells you if you're running in debug mode, right? So if you say returns the value of when, some debuggers may display message. I don't remember. I feel like there was some stuff in here to detecting if you're running in debug mode.
KDebug, he says. Make he retracted it. Okay, I guess not. Never mind.
So to be clear, K debug, K profile, K release are three constants, and that just tells you what mode your app was built for. So if it's built for debug mode or if it's built for release mode and so on, that doesn't tell you that you're running against the debugger, because you can have a debug version that you're not running with a debugger, right? So that's if that's helpful. But detecting if device is in developer mode, that's just detecting if developer mode is enabled on the device. That's a separate thing entirely. You need to use native APIs for that. All right, next question. Why Dart? Do you want to read the question? Do you want to read the question? You can read the, I'll let you read the questions for now. There you go.
Why Dart Flutter is slow when it comes to decoding or encoding images and doing byte level operations?
So first of all, it's going to be slow in debug mode because you're debugging. So that's one thing. It's not necessarily any slower when it compiled in release. There is going to be differences. Now the differences are because if you're using the image, I know what you're talking about, and this is always a long-term issue, and that is if you're using the image library. Let me bring this up on the screen here. So basically, you're going to find it interesting. Actually, I think guys, the other guys on the stream here. Why is it not? Is it called image? There it is. There's the package. What is this? Look, I type in image, which is the package that I want,
and you get widgets.
The full package down. I think the exact name would be the first one.
Engine optimization is not optimized.
Yeah,
I think Google needs to fix
the SEO. The SEO for Dart UI is higher, so it must be something inside that package. This is a it's Google.
It's an exact match. It should be first.
Yeah, exactly right.
Right.
I think exact match should definitely be first. Right. Anyway, so this is the common package that everyone thinks of, and this does all this. It reads, writes all these images and so on, and all these different formats. If you actually go look at the source code of this library, you'll find that what they're actually doing, as we find one like JPEG, is the full JPEG decoding in Dart. So this actually runs the quantization decoding all in Dart, which means you're getting a higher level language than you would do in C. And now the end result is also compiled to machine code. So in release mode, there's going to be differences, right? Because you get specific optimizations against specific environments. And it's a lot easier to control that level in C. So losing libjpeg and all the rest of it is a lot more advantageous, right? But if you're trying to just decode images, you're better off using the Flutter actually has a method for this. So I keep pressing the wrong button. Sorry. In API.flutter.dev, if you search for decode image from list or from pixels, from list, by the way, the from list functions are used for any number of bytes. That just means a list of bytes. So that's how you decode a PNG or JPEG file. From pixels is always raw bitmap pixels. That's RGB values. So that's the difference. But if you look at from list, I don't like this. I click and it takes a while to load. Anyway, there we go. So decode from images for a single frame from a byte array to an image object. And this supports all of the image codecs that are built into Flutter. These are all compiled with C because this is part of the Flutter engine. And you'll get a better decoding of your raw images and performance with this. Does that answer your question? Does that kind of like help decoding and encoding images and doing byte level operations? The other one is, and I want to sort of cover this as well, is that Dart doesn't have the notion of what a byte is, right? So the raw data types are like int, string, like a character, an 8-byte data type does not exist in Dart, right? You have typed data. Now, typed data is slightly different. Typed data is how we want to, and I'll bring this up. Oh my God, can you press the wrong button? You press the wrong, there we go. Yeah, I'll get there eventually. I just wanted to be clear. So api.dart.dev, and if you look over here, you've got API type data. Type data is efficiently handle fixed size data, such as example, unsigned 8-byte integers and SMD numeric types. And this is where what you want to be using if you're trying to do image manipulation or anything else, because this will be way more efficient. But again, it's not designed for well, it's still more efficient than not, right? But yeah, you need to think about how you're using this and modifying this data. But yeah, it's if you're modifying raw bytes, at the end of the day, you're going to be more efficient to do that at a lower level. Yeah. And this is where Dart has some really great advantages. This includes Dart FFI. So over here, again, in the Dart SDK, you'll find Dart FFI. And this allows you, to have like C char data type. And this actually means that you can have like and it has an unsigned, or is it unsigned in a representation, and you can go off, run C code, which could be libjpeg or something else, do whatever you want. So you've got the option there. You've got the option of all the possibilities. But this is just the nature of the level of where languages go. Does that help? I think I covered everything.
I think you got it all.
I talked for half an hour.
You got a minute of question. Why Dartium was deprecated and abandoned?
Dartium? That wasn't just the early name.
That was Dart embedded in Chrome.
Oh.
So that you could do early development back with the Dart only, but way before Flutter existed.
That was like the precursor to Flutter,
this is like 2014 time. 2014.
Yeah, somewhere in there, right.
So why Dartium was deprecated? Well, we weren't there. We did deprecate, so I couldn't tell you exactly why. But from we're not involved. So to be clear, none of us here work for Google or Flutter or anything. We're community, and this is why it's on the Flutter community channel. I'd say so. From what I understand, my understanding about the whole thing was that they weren't going to get picked up by browsers to add another language into their support architecture, right? To add another language, they already have enough trouble trying to support JavaScript and its updates and changes. To add another language it didn't have the traction that they thought it might have, so it got moved on and used for other things, and a la Flutter and so on. So.
And a couple of practical considerations too. I understand that the event loop for the DOM and the event loop for Dart were competing with each other, and it was really hard to get them to cooperate a lot, really clean. The other thing was that by abandoning Dartium as the primary way of developing Dart and testing it and running it, and instead concentrating on Dart2JS and other tools in that arena, we got a much better JavaScript picture now, which is just amazing now that it's done. So yes, it was sort of an interesting experiment, sort of off as the core development, but it served its time. We bridged into using DDC and other wonderful tools now.
Cool. Move on then.
What do we got next? What is suggestion or roadmap to display live video from bytes coming from WebSockets? We kind of talked about this earlier, didn't we?
So it's interesting actually, because again, this kind of covers on a few of the topics we just spoke about, right? So if you listen to a WebSocket in Dart, you're going to get this one of those typed data arrays of raw bytes, and that's going to be, as you said, a raw H.264 frame. You need to then pass that to Android, in the case of an Android device, or to iOS, and use the native media SDK functions. Now, the reason for this, you can do this in software. If we wanted to, in Dart, like we saw the JPEG decoders then, we could write a H.264 decoder, but it would be software bound. It would use the CPU to do the decoding, and it'd be very inefficient for that reason. It would also make your phone pretty warm. So what we want to do, and what you want to do as a developer, is we're going to take that raw data for the frame, hand it off to the operating system to use what's called the DSP, the digital signal processor. It's a chip it's built into the phone that knows how to, or it's normally a portion of the main ARM chip, but it's a system chip, whatever. But the point here is it hands it off to the DSP, and that will decode the H.264 frame in hardware and return the RGB values for the frame back to you. Then what we do is we take those and we put them in a texture to be displayed by the graphics card. Now, the idea is to try and keep that all in the graphics card. So what we don't have at the moment, and what you could make, is definitely a package that supports, as far as I know, at least, that supports this. And what you do is there's a class on Android called Media Codec, and there's a whole a suite of media libraries that support decoding H.264, and the output is what you call a surface, or you can go to a texture, and then inside of your Flutter widget, inside your Flutter app, there's actually a widget for this. So if we bring up, if I jump back over to api.flutter.dev, and in here type in texture, this is the widget that displays a texture that's from the graphics card. And what you do is you apply the texture ID that was allocated inside of Android. In this case, I'm talking about Android specifically at this moment. And then inside your Flutter UI, you'll get your lovely decoded video playing back. It sounds simple, and it is, like the steps, but the video itself is complicated, right? Like the whole process, timing, and it's all quite complicated. But it is definitely possible, and you definitely can do it. I don't like, this is all possible right now. Someone needs to just go do it. No, if you haven't found a use case, probably no one's found a use case for it, basically. Don't use FFmpeg. Don't, just no. It does support some hardware, not all hardware, and you probably end up with CPU bound decoding. Plus, it's huge. It's not meant for this purpose. So you're going to chuck like a 20 megabyte dependency, 30 megabyte dependency along with your app to decode some H.264 frames for this little piece of what this whole thing is, right? Yep. So yeah, don't do that. Don't do that.
Nope. Let's keep moving. Got a minute. We got like 6 more questions.
Roberto, Thank you.
PostgreSQL and Docker. When I go into production, should I move from Docker?
Docker works fine for production.
I see what he means.
Yeah, why?
No. So no, it all depends on where you want to host and how you want to host your Postgres database.
Yeah.
So in production, you might want to use something like GCP's Cloud SQL, which supports Postgres. However, you could just spin up your Docker container on any service, and you've got Postgres running, right?
Right.
The thing is, you need to think about, if you're going to do that, where you're going to store that data, the persistent data for Postgres, because it's not stored within the Docker container. It needs to be mapped in with a volume. And that's up to you and how you manage that. But it's all about the management level. When you talk about service stuff, in fact, this brings me to something I want to share. So I'm gonna share this now. Hang on. It's something
While he's doing that, I'll talk about Supabase just for a second, which is a Postgres backend solution that scales. So it's really pretty cool. Supabase.
So definitely. So this is a graphic. I'm gonna hide the question for a second as well. I don't think I can make it any bigger and any clearer than this. So because if I make it wider, it's quite a wide diagram. Let's see what maybe I can zoom in somewhat. Is that better?
Yeah.
So basically, when you're talking about this is a scale of configurability to agility, right? And what you want is more green. Basically, that's more managed by the cloud provider, but the cost is comparatively so, right? The red is what you as a customer for the cloud provider will manage, right? So if you have your own server, your own equipment in your office, it's this far red one. You're in control of the network, the storage, the server, virtualization, operating system, the whole stack. It's really complicated. If you use infrastructure as a service, which can still be done on Google, that's like Compute Engine, for instance, then you're in control of the installation of the operating system and everything running on top. That means installing Docker, which is Canadian technology, your runtime, which is Dart, in this case, running inside your Docker container, and your application and your data. Container as a service is that same kind of thing. Right? You're moving on now, rather than being having to maintain the operating system and the container technology, use whatever's available from the cloud provider. In this case, that's Cloud Run. So this is the same as Cloud Run. So we supply the Dart container inside our runtime, inside the Docker container. You contain Dart, which is your runtime, your application, whatever data. And then going up another level from that is more App Engine or some of the other services where they provide the complete runtime, let's say Node.js environment and everything. And you just provide your JavaScript code and your data or whatever, and it goes off running. This is what they're trying to build at the moment with Firebase to support Dart, is to give you this automatic runtime of Dart across the environment, right? Then you've got what we have is Cloud Functions or Lambda on AWS, which is where the operating system, everything up, runtime, error handling for your code, capacity, parallelization, scalability is all supplied for you. All you supply is the business logic in a function along with your data. So it's even smaller level. And then finally is this far right side, which is it's all been done for you and they just provide everything for you, right? This might be like supplying you with like a pub sub, which is that's just basically MQTT with stuff wrapped on top and a whole API wrapped on top. So this is kind of like your cloud level, your cloud infrastructure levels. And what was the point here? Yeah, Postgres. So the question was about running Postgres with Docker. And this is the thing, right? If you use the pre-made solution, you're at this sense. If you use Cloud SQL, it's there, it's running, it's got the runtime, it's running Postgres for you. All you're doing is using their service and they store the data for you. So this is the most sort of agile, most sort of flexible solution for this, right? However,
and most expensive.
And relatively most expensive. You can run a SQL server with less memory and everything else and get your costs down. Just FYI, like don't use their initial setups because that's like for like a middle grade. So for a startup scenario, you can just go use the cheapest server grade that cloud providers offer. Anyway, but yeah, when you're talking about using it as a Docker container, you're down here as using a container as a service option. And you still need to go store your data somewhere. You still need to configure it. You still need to maintain it. Even worse, if you're running a compute engine yourself or some other sort of server solution, you have to maintain the Docker instance yourself. That kind of goes it all rolls downhill. There's more for you to manage and control. So
what's the URL for that?
There is no URL for this. I don't know where I've originally got this image from.
I found it. I found it out on Reddit. The problem is that the original post is not there anymore.
So what I'm going to so actually I had it in my mind to actually recreate this image actually and post it up. So I'm going to do that. So keep an eye on my Twitter. It's at @DevAngelsLondon.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what I'd say.
There you go.
Because there's some more in this diagram doesn't explain that I want to put into a new diagram. So yeah.
5 questions, -5 minutes.
Which Flutter web renderer do you advise for a CRUD web app which has no visual components?
How is it a Flutter thing?
Then why is it a Flutter web? What?
It's a web app with no visual components.
So, it's a web renderer.
A bit
doesn't have visual. So is it a CRUD app that generates a web output?
I don't
Which
understand.
Flutter web renderer do you advise for a CRUD web app which has no?
It doesn't. So you don't specific. So this, okay. So let's sort of take this back a bit quickly because we did the end of the show. Let's just be quick about this. There's 2 Flutter web renderers. That's CanvasKit and the DOM renderer. Both that's called HTML in the guide. So HTML and CanvasKit, both of which are perfectly fine for your use case, right? Like you don't have to pick one. It will just naturally pick the right one for you. If you don't need any of the fancy visual stuff, the HTML one's probably a bit more efficient for what your needs are.
They clarified in the chat. They have no, when they say no visual components, they mean like no images or anything like that to display, just pure controls.
It's still the same thing. It's still the same thing. I would say that I would just leave it. I wouldn't even choose a web renderer. Just let it choose for you. In which case it compiles both. And it means that on mobile, it would choose the most efficient one. On desktop, it would choose the most efficient one, and you'd just be working.
Yep.
The other option is just don't use Flutter at all, and you can just use Dart. So you can use Dart and just edit the DOM and do DOM-based manipulation. And you can do that. One we spoke about before. It's still early days for this project, but if you're working on a Mac, it might be worth checking out. That is, it's called Jasper. If I can find the link on Pub. And I'll bring this up on screen. Where are we? Oh, wrong button. Wait. The package is called JASPR, Jasper for short. And this is a dark web framework. And this allows you to do server-side rendering, have SEO, all this lovely fun stuff. And you can check out this demo playground link. And this is a live editor. It uses the Dartpad theming to generate, but you could basically build widgets up with a Flutter-like syntax, but it actually is completely web, which is slightly more efficient and would work better probably in your scenario. But if you've already got a whole CRUD application all developed in Flutter, just all controls, just use those. There's no like. For most like admin things, Flutter is perfectly fine because it's not a site. It's not it's a one-time download deal, right? Yeah. It's fine. But yeah, I don't think you need to pick a renderer. Moving on.
Rewording missed question. Could we please have a rule to keep Flutter talks kid-friendly for the young coders, especially on game development? There was a question. There was one from I don't know which talk it was, but they had mentioned that there was some inappropriate language used during one of the talks, and they had to stop the recording, or playback.
I mean, the thing is, I agree with you, but that's just really down to the organizers and the people, and to be honest, that's down to the speakers. It's most speakers will try and keep this stuff friendly, for that reason. I mean, I catch myself where I might swear when I say something else on a lot of live streams and things because I want it to be open for more people. I don't think there's anything that we can do as a community, but mention it like we're doing right now, so that
that's it.
I would say you should tweet this out and then just at the Flutter team and everything else. Maybe mention the name and shame and mention the person so that they know for next time when they do a talk they don't swear. I don't think there's anything more we can do than that. But I think it's a good point. I think definitely. Yeah. There's actually what's his name? Renuka's son, who was at the conference. It's gonna
Google time.
Okay, quickly, just find this. So one of the organizers of GDG London, called Renuka, her son is actually actively doing talks and stuff about Flutter game development. He had games in Flutter. He's 13 years old. I'm sure he'll be kid friendly. So I would recommend. I would recommend.
You would think
games in Flutter. 30. Do I want to say his name? Funway Coding is his thing. Yeah. So there you go.
All right.
So I will pop that. He's doing that in GDG Glasgow. You can go sign up for an event. I'll pop that in the chat. Everyone, go watch. Yeah. Awesome. What do we have next?
Is there a widget which allows tab view inside tab view?
Don't do this. How's that?
Why would no, not good.
If you're trying to do this, you've got a problem with the way that your UX is approached.
Too many tabs.
I mean,
trying to do rows of tabs, right? I mean, essentially that's what they're trying to do. A tab with rows of tabs in it.
I don't know. It just sounds really complicated and something that I wouldn't want to attempt. The problem here is you kind of run out of screen space, first of all. But if you do want to do this, you basically have to allocate a size. So you can put a size box around the tab view, and it should sort the problem out that you're having with layout. But don't do this. Don't do this. This is a problem that Microsoft has been finding.
Redesign your layout.
Tabs. It's like tabs. It's like
oh my gosh. Yeah. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Is it possible to pass in Dart define properties to a Flutter app when opened in Android view in Android Studio and run as a native Android app?
So yes, in fact, and run as a native Android. Well, just when you run in Android Studio anyway. So your run configuration has an option to add extra parameters for your Dart command, and in there you can pass in the Dart defines. Right. It has a slightly different syntax than Flutter run. You have to probably do Flutter run -- help in the command line to get the syntax for Dart define. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but you can do it. I've done it in the past. I don't have it to hand.
And VSC has a similar tool.
Yeah, they all have ways to
workspace. All of them have ways to pass command line arguments for the builder tools. Yeah.
So yes, you can.
Yes.
Is that it? No.
Last question.
Yep.
How does the automatic keep alive client mixin work from a render object perspective?
We had this question before, and we were going to answer it. We didn't get time, but you left it to the very end, Patrick.
He's going to see how many shows he can roll this over into before we finally answer.
Because I couldn't make it last week. We didn't have a chance to answer.
You guys didn't answer this last week for him, Randall. You and Scott.
No. We're waiting for Simon to answer it. Yes.
And I think someone messaged me. It might have been Patrick or someone else, and asking me when are we going to talk about this. And now it's the last minute. So I'm afraid it's going to happen.
Fourth time, he says. Fourth time.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Patrick. Let's
get here earlier. 166 hours from now. Come back.
Get in touch, because you never know. This might be a nice, perfect thing for a little video that we can upload and talk about, and have it as separate content from Humpday. So get in touch, and I'm sure we'll work something.
It was Philip's talk. That's surprising.
Yeah.
Who?
Cool.
What did who? What?
Philip Ratchik.
Yeah.
The game talk.
Whoops. Yeah.
No longer with Google, but that's.
Yeah, but go ping him a message and mention it to him, because he's a nice guy. He doesn't. These things happen, right? Like at least when you expect, especially when you're emotional about your code, a swear might pop out every now and again. So it happens. Yep. It happens. All right. Yep. Well, I think we're at the end.
That's it.
We're done.
Thank you very much. And
wiping the slate clean.
And we'll be around next week for another Humpday Q&A. And
yes,
we'll hope to see you then.
Yeah.
I guess.
Right.
Bye for now.
See you.
Ciao.